Recording to the cloud.
Okay. Where is my, where do I share my screen at?
It's all the way at the bottom. Well, depends on. Yeah.
You know, the one in green that's right in front of me? Because I'm blind. Okay. Okay, so this is a wrap up of our conference, and I want to apologize for the disappointment. Dara and I were quite disappointed that we weren't in person, but I want to say thank you for working really hard, and hopefully we have some good proposals and we're moving things forward. I scheduled it from 1 to 4. I don't think it'll take that long. I'm just using the afternoon just to make sure that I've built in some time. And then obviously, as you guys know, me and Dara are the chairs. We are the chairs of the committee. I can hear an echo. Okay. So we're going to start with this business meeting. We're going to go over the committee reports. And I think everybody has sent their reports and a couple PowerPoints ahead of time, which is nice. So I've saved them. Do those go in the Dropbox too, or have you gotten those copies, Dara?
I don't know.
I can double check.
Want them in the same Dropbox, or
I can double check with Joe on that one. At least then, so that for the national and the next regional one, they can get it. So these are all the committee reports. We're going to go through standards, bylaws, taxonomy, research, technology, soil and ecosystem, interps, and the coastal zone, hydric soils, and subaqueous. And we've given 15 minutes for each one. So you don't have to take all 15 minutes, but you have up to 15 minutes. And then we'll go through old business. And then we're going to discuss our new business, and then we'll go over what Dara had put together, some of the priorities that kind of are similar to all the committees, and maybe we can take a look at those. And we're going to discuss the next, the 2024, hopefully that's in person. If not, I give up on life. And then the next meeting will be in Louisiana. So we're going to discuss chairs and co-chairs, and hopefully we've got some names. I've volunteered myself, which may or may not be a good thing for one of them, but we'll see where we're at. And so this is let me make this bigger. Here's the agenda. Oops, that's a little too big. So see, look at that. I'm already ahead of schedule. So from 1 to 1:15, I was just discussing the format of the meeting, and I'm going to say thank you to Edgar for providing the format from the last meeting. So that was helpful. So let's start. Without further ado, does anybody have any questions? Format seems straightforward. I know everybody's probably ready to be done. So let's start with the interpretations committee. So do I have to stop sharing my screen, Dara?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it over to Anna and Richard.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
I'm okay. It's Friday.
Yeah, and
so that's good.
Looks like we're wrapping up this week, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay, I just sent you our presentation, PowerPoint presentation, and the committee report. If it needs a little modification or improvement or enhancement or something, let me know, because it's probably not perfect by any means. I don't claim to be an experienced co-chair, so anyway. All right, so I'm going to share this presentation with y'all. let me know when you can see it.
You're good.
Okay, we'll get started. So we had pretty active participation at the committee meeting yesterday. I was pleasantly surprised. I was a little concerned based on the turn of events of the conference and then changing the time that we would have lackluster participation, but that was not the case for interpretations, which speaks volumes to the importance of soil interpretations to the general conversation. Anyway, so here's our committee members. Anna Peltseva. I probably said that wrong. Anna, if I did, you can correct me. Peltseva.
I say Peltsiva, so it's all different ways.
Yeah, you're good. Doesn't matter. You can have your own pronunciation of my last name. I accept it.
I've probably said it wrong every single time I've ever said it.
I typically just put the stress on the first half, Peltseva, because originally it sounds as Paltseva. That's the authentic pronunciation.
I like that one. I'm gonna say that.
If it's easier, Paltseva. That's how we say it. But in English, for some reason they made it too many consonants.
Well, at any rate, I'd like to thank Anna for being a big help. I'm getting a big echo. And contributing to all of this. I appreciate her and the other committee members for voting and for engaging in conversation about interpretations. So we had two pre-conference meetings in which we pretty much went through some background information. Anna gave a good background on bylaws for the Regional Cooperative Soil Survey Interps Committee. Bob Dobos gave some background on some of the new national interpretation projects, some of the old ones, new interpretations, modified interpretations, new projects. And, as a result of this first pre-conference meeting, there was an inherent need identified for urban soil interpretations and heavy metal. Heavy metals were a big topic during our discussions. So then we had our May 16th meeting in which I gave an overview of the conference committee to-do items, reviewed the previous committee charges from 2020 and discussed progress on each of those charges, solicited feedback from committee members and participants on new proposals and new interpretation projects. We overviewed progress on conservation practice standard screening, interpretations, I guess, tools, whatever you want to call them. We went through an overview of new interpretations that are ready for testing. Part of the reason I did that is to foster a little bit more rigorous involvement in testing the interpretations that are being developed. I was trying to sort of be a salesman for a brief period of time. And then we did a brief introduction to the interpretations. I don't know why it keeps doing that. The interpretations focus team and the testing site. So I think it's important in this business meeting anyway, for everybody to be aware that interpretations are not going away. There were 46 interpretations that we sort of deliberated on. Some we talked more about than others, but 46 total interpretations. So we skip ahead or transitioning to our June 8th Zoom meeting, or June. Yeah, anyway, we had 15 in attendance. We did opening remarks, a little introduction session, and then reviewed the committee charges. as we did in previous pre-conference meetings, reviewed the previous 22 pre-conference meeting minutes and discussions, the previous 2020 committee charges and progress on those charges again. We identified specifically the charges that were remaining, briefly reviewed new interpretations ready for testing, again, subaqueous soil and terrestrial interpretations, kind of as a method to get people testing our interpretations more, providing more feedback. Reviewed new proposals and deliberated on those that were worthy of carrying forward, and then requested additional new proposals from attendees and deliberated on those. Here's an overall score, voting score by category. So I just wanted to throw this in there to show in this business meeting, everybody here, sort of the broad categories that were voted on, from agronomic to urban to conservation practice standard, Department of Homeland Security, subaqueous soils, forestry, and soil health. Some of those could probably be combined. Anyway, and then these were the top charges. Conservation practice standard screening tools was number one. I was really surprised about that, but pleasantly surprised, I guess. Urban land component interpretive ratings was another pretty hot topic. That's been a reoccurring issue that's been identified in many conferences. And then this chronic wasting disease, which was voted on pretty heavily by the committee. So those were the top three. I think that's, yeah, and here they are ranked in tabular formats if you are curious to see how they all played out. Yeah, so some of these are from previous charges and some of these are brand new proposals. And that's all I got. Any questions?
Pretty.
The artifact, the artifact for the urban artifacts, I thought that was already was that being discussed already? Is that happening? I thought Bob, or maybe that was this liquefaction. Maybe that's the one that was being discussed or developed.
Let me go back to, let me see if I can go back to the charges. Hang on just a sec.
Because I think the issue was being able to pull that table. It was something with being able to pull it. I'd have to talk to Randy. He would refresh my memory.
Let me see. Add artifact table to fragment table data when populated. Yeah, I'm not really sure, Christine. I don't know where that's at. Bob would probably be the person to ask about.
I'll ask
exactly.
him.
Yeah, exactly where we're at. But yes, I think it is being. I think it is being worked on. I know recently there's been some changes to fragments. Maybe cementation or class or something like that. And that did cause some issue with interpretations, but that's completely unrelated to this.
Mm-hmm.
This is related to anthropogenic stuff. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Next on the agenda, I know Matt said he wouldn't be able, I think it was Matt Levi. So I think Kamara is here to present for the Research Needs Committee.
Yes, I am, Christine. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. You guys let me know if you're able to see everything.
Looks great.
All good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so again, I'm Kamara Holmes, soil scientist out of East National Technology Support Center located in Greensboro. And I'm presenting to you all on behalf of the Research Priorities Committee. Our great chairperson, Matt Levi, he's an assistant professor of soil science at University of Georgia. He wasn't able to make it on today, but I just wanna share that he, very great chairperson of this good committee, and gonna go ahead and move forward and share some of the updates from our meetings. We did hold a pre-conference meeting back in May, on May 11th, and we had 6 participants there. And our main focus was to establish committee members and gain some potential research topics. So we did have some pretty good responses compared to the number of participants. So we had 8 responses to that pre-conference meeting. And again, one of our main objectives was to develop 3 priority groups that we would recommend for funding. So we did have our meeting on Tuesday at 3 o'clock there on, as you can see on the screen, the participants there. We had great participation. So as far as our top 3 topic areas, we did have 6. We did vote and do not have results tallied up like my counterpart Richard there, but the way it tallied out, these are our top 3 topic areas that we plan to recommend. As you can see on the screen, carbon and climate, did leave that out, carbon and climate, soil health, and ESDs. Those seem to be right along with our priorities of the agency for sure. And so some of the details of that are listed as far as carbon goes. And Richard did make a good point there about interpretations. A lot of these will possibly require interpretation. So everything is kind of going in together as far as our topics go. I'm gonna skip forward just a little bit to let you know all 6 of the topic areas. But again, these were our top ones: urban soils and coastal zone soil survey and data quality were ranked as listed on the screen. Due to the sake of time, I know Christine, you said we don't have to use all the time. I didn't want to go all the way in depth as far as some of the highlights, but I am open to any questions or discussions from what you all see on the screen. And again, I definitely want to give kudos to Matt Levi. I hate he was not able to make it today, but again, these are our top 3 topic areas. And again, we look forward to possibly collaborating with everyone when it comes to the national meeting as well. So Christine, I'm gonna throw it back to you, and I wanna, I'm open for questions or discussion
Sure,
for the
yeah.
Research Priorities Committee.
We're about 25 minutes ahead of schedule.
Hey, Christine.
Uh-huh.
Hey, this is Richard. I did have a question / comment suggestion. I don't know what you call it, but we had, like Kamara said, we had several proposals or talking points or whatever you want to call them that really are more applicable maybe to some of the other committees. And I wasn't sure if I should bring those up now or if I just included them in the report, or we had a couple that were related to research, and I didn't know if I should mention them now or.
Well, I think Dara, you went through and kind of put together something that shows the crossovers between all the committees.
Just for their 3 top topic areas / priorities. So these other ones may not be on that list that would cross over, but some of them definitely do. Yeah.
Okay. So which, for you, Richard, which ones do you think would fall into the research or cross over with research?
Well, we had, let's see, I'm looking right here. Okay, so let's see. So microplastics was one that Anna brought up that I think we are pretty certain that there's going to be impacts to soil interpretations because microplastics impact soil properties and behavior. But we're not real sure how, and it's a fairly, I think it's a fairly new, Anna could elaborate more, but it's a fairly new research topic. And so that one we thought might deserve a spot in discussions, at least at future regional or national cooperative soil survey meetings. The other two are, one is related to soil seepage characteristics in animal burial situations, and research related to that. I'm personally aware of several studies involving leaching, but as far as I know, unless I'm wrong, there hasn't been a ton of research on seepage from burial sites. So I just wanted to push that forward to the research committee potentially. And then the third topic was related to hydric soils. We had somebody bring up the topic of effects of redoxamorphic feature formation as a result of climate extreme retraction and expansion. And I thought I'd throw that out there for Mike Popraskas, because I haven't talked to him in a while, and I thought I would just give him something interesting to think about.
Hey, Richard, I think, some of those proposals, some of the points you've made, I guess compile those or submit those to us, let us know so we can, add that to our notes and, continue discussion with that.
And I would say if you could highlight them, Richard, in your presentation, and then just make a note of it, like the highlight, like this could be a good part of the research committee, so we know.
Okay. I do have them in the report, the committee report.
Okay.
So they're identified there, but I can certainly package those. There's only 3, so I could certainly package those up and send them to you, and you could forward them
just
out
officially send them to us so we can document it on our side with this committee and make sure we're capturing all that.
If I
Yep.
might, I would suggest that every chair and co-chair do that for their committee. So just go into your report and maybe like bold in color those that cross over into other or would be better for other committees, because there was a lot of that. And just about every committee has it. So at the end of the day, all that can be kind of collated together.
Yeah, because Richard, we needed to do that with you all as far as interpretations go. You sat in with us and you identified that. So most definitely we can do that. Yep. So Christine, I guess if no other questions, are there any other questions for the Research Priorities Committee? The notes will be available. And just please let us know if there are any other proposals, please submit those to us. Thank you.
All right. And so we can move on now to the Soil and Ecosystem Dynamics Committee.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, I don't have rights to share my screen.
Hang on, sorry,
All right.
I thought you did. But you don't. Okay, now try.
Excellent, thank you, Dara. All right, Soil and Ecosystem Dynamics Committee. I'm Patrick Kiesel. I'm Assistant Professor of Forest Operation at Clemson University, and I'm co-chairing this committee with Charles Stammons from NRCS over in Louisiana, which was really, really helpful in getting us through this. We had 2 pre-meetings. We actually got 24 individuals attend our pre-meetings to have discussions about 15 different topics that Charles fished out of previous committee reports that we rehashed, discussed, and figured out what was already completed and what needed to be moved forward. This week we had another meeting with 19 attendees, and we basically came up with 4 proposals, recommendations, or high interest topics that the committee was interested in moving forward. One was the inclusion of forestry sites and timber management states in ESDs. We'll have like a recommendation for the forest ecological site team to maybe refine these recommendations and put some more thought into this. We also had the Northeast Soil and Ecosystem Dynamics Committee tell us that they would be willing to partner with us in the South here in the Southern region to actually work on that together, to share experience as partner and then create something that's not only for us down here, but also valid for folks in the Northeast. Also got comments or a proposal to move forward about alternative stable states of ESDs. The recommendation is to continue an engagement, and it basically focuses on urban states within regular ESDs. With one of the big questions that came up was whether these highly altered soils from mine spoil landfills should be their own alternate state, or if they should be a, hold on, what is it called? Or it should just be part, should be part of an ESD. So whether it should be its own or it should just be a state within an ESD. That's one of the discussions came up, and I think our recommendation is to push this up to national to actually create some national guidelines along this on what should be done with this. I think from what we heard is that in the past, the consensus was that it's going to be a case-by-case decision-making process on whether it's going to be its own state or whether it's going to be its own ESD for these urban soils. And we have heard that I think it's the Southwest that already has something developed along those lines that may be of interest to us. Then there was also something about part 632 of the National Ecological Site Handbook to add the coastal zone soil stories, ESDs, and other land use guidelines into the new write-up. And the big focus was on providing guidelines and policies and basically a framework on how to draft, write, work with ESDs, and then also to include some guidance on how to provide restoration information with all these different ESDs. And then the last topic that our committee moved forward was increased communication between states and SPSDs. We all know that this is something that's already in the works. It's happening, but there was, some good discussion around this, that this should really be, made a focus and moved forward. With one of the main points coming out that maybe we need something like a reporting or communication mechanism that kind of conveys why, what, and how the work that we do is done. That may be something different that helps us to engage with other partners and then increase the communication aspect. And that's it. Any questions? I like that.
Mhm. Sorry,
Now-
my computer's really slow.
And if anybody needs any more information, Charles would be the one that has all the details about this. If you need any more, and then we also have the details in our report that we're submitting after this meeting.
Yeah, your committee generated a lot of interest. Along with interps, it was a hot meeting. Hot
We're
ticket
pretty
item.
busy. It was good. It was good 3 meetings we had here.
Yeah, it was good. A lot of good conversations. Okay, well, I appreciate it. And you're sending in the report. I'm going to collect all the reports and then I'm going to make sure that they get archived. And for the next meeting, I want to make sure that they're available, easily available for the oh, okay, I'm unfrozen. Make sure they're available for the next meeting so they can access them. And they're easier to track down. Okay, so the next committee we're going to hear from is the soil standards, which I believe was Joe.
All right, I am going to try to share my screen here. Navigate to the correct slideshow. And hopefully you see a title slide. All right, I get nods of agreement. That's great. So I have successfully done the first step. All right, so presentation here for the standards committee is going to be very brief. I've tried to kind of condense this down in the interest of time and everything. Reports have already been submitted to both Christine and Dara. I have all of the proposals with notes. All of those have been sent along as well, and some other ancillary documents sent along. And since I'm still the liaison for a little while longer, I guess I will certainly help to facilitate getting those on the Dropbox and getting any information up there to the website that you all choose to put up there. I'll certainly try to help out with that and make that go as smoothly as possible. All right, so chairs and co-chair or the chair and co-chair for 2022 was myself and Dr. Perea, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. During our committee meeting yesterday, we did put out the call for chair and co-chair for the 2024 regional conference. Chair is dictated by bylaws and thereafter by delegation. So we just kind of left it as that. It's going to be in the bylaws, and that will determine whom that is filling my seat in the next regional conference. For co-chair, Dr. Perea very graciously volunteered. We heard no objections, and there were no other volunteers. So we are proposing to go forward with Dr. Perea for the 2024 regional conference co-chair. Committee recommendations. We are recommending for approval, and we're recommending to move these forward. I do have an asterisk there, or a note there. All of these are in some form of ready for English edit. They're ready for submission to the National Leader for Soil Survey Standards, or they are currently awaiting a 30-day public review period. We had proposals for an update to color contrast guidance, acid sulfate soils in the coastal and subaqueous environment, 2 updates to National Soil Survey Handbook Part 626.2 and .3. Those were concerning lab sample collection methods and lab sample analysis methods for coastal zone soil survey. The keys to soil taxonomy 13th edition, and the lab methods manual updates for coastal zone soil survey. There are 3 sections there on some specific bulk density methodology and collection and measurement. We did have one recommendation or one proposal that did come in. We are recommending that to either elevate to the national conference or table it and roll that to the next regional conference, or both. Rationale behind this, it was for dynamic soil properties guidance. We thought further discussion would be needed on DSP data. It's concerning incorporation, standardization, and handling. We felt there was a good deal of overlap potentially with this particular item and other regional committee work like many other committees had. Specifically this one involving technology and research committees. While we were holding this conference and all these committee meetings, we had a vacancy filled in the Soil and Plant Science Division for a national soil scientist for dynamic soil properties. So we thought maybe incorporating thoughts of that person early on in this instead of working this through a committee might be very, very beneficial. So the path proposed is a concurrent path. We'd like to table this issue in 2022, move it forward to the National Soil Scientist for Dynamic Soil Properties. And concurrently, we would like to propose it be discussed at the 2023 National Conference. And concurrently, we would like to propose it also be discussed again at the 2024 Regional Conference. And that is it for me for a report. And I managed to figure out how to stop sharing.
Mhm. My computer is taking forever. Too many windows open. Thank you for that, Joe. Does anybody have any questions? I'm currently looking up the bylaws, but to find out who would be the chair, just so I know it says it. I don't know if it was Richard that was going to be.
Edgar may be able to shed some light on that. I know I sat in on the bylaws committee meeting yesterday, and I believe there was some reworking of that table. So
Yeah.
that may come out.
Oh, okay.
So for standards for next year, it would be somebody from the Northeast region. NRCS, that's the NRCS. So the other co-chair would have to be selected. The partner. So the regional director for standard or for the Northeast region would be basically the chair or their representative or a co-chair. And then the other one would be from that. So that's how that would rotate.
So it'll be Luis Hernandez.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, does it have that in the bylaws? Does it say? I guess it doesn't really lay that out, does it?
Yeah.
My God, this computer. Okay. And you said you're, well, I guess that's going to be coming up in the bylaws, so I'll wait.
I'll bring it up into the bylaws and show.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the next committee we're going to hear from is taxonomy.
Okay, I'm hoping I can make this work. Boy, my my laptop, when you have extra screens and screens to share, it goes crazy. I'm going to share my screen first and then see if I can share the slideshow. I'm not sure which screen it's going to show up on. Now, a while ago, it was real easy for me to figure out how to get this slideshow started. I'll go to here and from the beginning, that ought to do it. Can you see my screen with the first slide of the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, good. It worked. I'm Wayne Gabriel. I was the one of the co-chairs of the taxonomy committee this year, along with Joey Shaw. Joey couldn't be here today, but he's been instrumental in the function of this committee since we started back in April.
Hey, Wayne, I'm actually on here. So.
Oh, well, good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Joey. Okay, let's see if I can make it move. There we go. We have not found a chair or co-chair yet, but we're still searching for one for 2024. We had 6 proposals this year.
Hey, Wayne, your slideshow is not advancing.
It's not advancing. Okay.
No, sir. We're seeing your
First
looks
one?
like your we're seeing your, the PowerPoint itself and not the presentation side.
Okay, well, let me try that again. It's showing on my screen as if it was right. Well, we may just have to go with that. If you can read it, can you read it, Richard?
Yeah. I read it.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time doing this. Anyway, we haven't found a chair or co-chair for 2024, but we are looking. The committee status of the decisions for our proposals, we had 6. We had a total of 12 participants at the committee meeting. Most of those were also some of our committee members. We had a total of 19 people, including those folks that have participated with us in the 6 meetings that we had prior to the meeting day before yesterday. The Artisol soil order, I think almost everybody is familiar with. It's had work done on it for several years. We think it's finally ready to be approved, at least to move up the line and seek national approval. We also had a proposal for oxyacrid subgroups for fragile adults that Dan Wing gave us. This one was put together prior to 2016, but fell through the cracks. So we took it up again so that it wouldn't just die on the vine. And we thought it was a pretty good proposal. What it has to do with is an oxyacrid subgroup for fragile adults, just exactly like we have for fragile adults, which happen to be in the same range of extent. Organic soil materials. This one was presented by Mark Stolt. Again, it was a slam dunk. We've had this pyrophosphate criteria for organic soil materials, I guess, for a very long time. Nobody's ever used it. We use the rub fiber content to make our determinations. So we think it's worthy to go on up the line to remove this criteria from or the definition of organic soil materials. Simplifying the malic epipedon, this proposal came from John Galbraith and Mickey Ransom. And as Susan Casby Horton said at our meeting on Wednesday, when we gave them challenges to the criteria that made it where we couldn't support it a couple years ago, they listened, they made the changes, and now we think it should go on up the line. We had 2 proposals that the status is returned to author with suggestions, and we do have those detailed suggestions in our report. One is isotic mineralogy in sandy soils. These occur from east to west in the United States, and I'll show you at least one of the maps we made later. We think making maps based on G-Sergo of major components that have like isotic mineralogy, we think that it's a way of conveying the information where a soil scientist can grasp the extent and not have to look at the number of states it's in and other means of determining an extent. So we think that's something we'll do more of in the future. And I'll show you one of those maps here in just a minute. We spent quite a bit of time on the wet soil order. We gave it a very thorough review, I think, and everybody on the committee participated in it. And we think we made some proposals, some suggestions as we're supposed to when we returned to author, so that they can move this proposal forward also and make improvements to it. And as Dr. Dave Linbo told us a couple of years ago, we believe these committees should function their full 2 years if needed, and not just stop at the annual meeting. So if there's any assistance we can give on either one of these proposals, we're willing to meet in the future and help those along and give further comments if that will be beneficial. This is the list of committee members and participants. These ones at the bottom participated in all the meetings prior to this annual meeting. And this is the participation that we had right here. Well, shouldn't do that, shouldn't touch it. This is the participation at the top that we had at the annual meeting Wednesday. And the last thing I'm going to show you before asking for questions is this is a map of the suborders, the active suborders in the United States. If it was a 1-to-1 ratio on suborders, aqua suborders going to aqua sols, this is what the raster map would look like for the CONUS of the United States, with the major components that are aqua suborders. So you can see it's pretty extensive. Questions? Apologize for not getting the slideshow to work like it's supposed to. The suggestions we made to the proposals are in our full report that I've already submitted to DARA, and I guess I'll submit it to the National Leader for Standards so it can be distributed to some of the other committees who might benefit from some of our comments and maps and other things. Chad Ferguson at the National Soil Survey Center is the one who produced this map for us.
Well, thank you, Wayne. That was it was a good talk on your committee too. It was interesting. Thank you for submitting your report. I'm going to organize these by committee, so it'll be easier when I submit them to put on that Dropbox. It'll be easily organized. So I appreciate everybody working on that. And the next committee we're going to hear from is the Technology Committee.
All right, very good. Let's see here. Let me see if I have the ability to share my screen. Yes, it is giving it to me. All right, hopefully you're seeing my slides. I believe you are. So, yeah, we had about a dozen folks join us for the Technology Committee meeting this week. We also had about 8 individuals in an earlier meeting on May 4th. And so there were kind of 2 focuses or foci for our Technology Committee meeting. And the May 4th meeting, we mostly focused on some recent completions of tools that are available to the to folks in through the broader NCSS community. And we also talked about some things we'd like to have seen happen. And it turns out that when we got an update from Drew Kinney of things that are coming out, a lot of those boxes were checked with his update that we talked about in our committee meeting this week. So on May the 4th, we actually had the developers of these 3 tools give a demonstration. So the first one was NCSS Pedons, developed by Adolfo Diaz, and it's a toolbox for ArcGIS Pro. It allows you to extract pedons through various means. One of the primary ways would be through an area of interest within ArcGIS Pro. And there's also a web feature service that is regularly updated that you can view pedons from the entire NASA's database, with a few exceptions. And that was there was a lot of interest in that, and that was a great presentation. We then had Elena Stevens demonstrate the use of mobile pedon entry with Survey 123, and this is a way for those in the field to enter pedons. So as many of you are familiar with maybe perhaps the Pedon PC, which is still workable, but for smaller mobile applications, this is an approach this is an application that might be more useful. Let's see, let's look at chat. Oh, okay. Relevant right now. Okay, and then finally, Chad Ferguson developed or updated Sergo on Demand, a toolbox for ArcGIS Pro. This tool allows you to extract with great ease soil properties or interpretations, and you can do this but it'll return either the actual soil polygons with the requested property or interpretation for small areas. And for larger areas, it will return a tabular database or just a table actually of within a geodatabase of those properties or soils. And it works very efficiently. It what it does is under the hood, it has several SQL queries that hit the soil data access database. So it's the latest and greatest data, and it's very efficient. And so those were great presentations that were given on May the 4th. And some of the things that we talked about doing which would have been part of the conferences, there was some interest in seeing the XRF filled those little ray guns. I forget what they're called. The XRF probes or scanners, I should say. And as it turns out, there was going to be such a demonstration if we were all there together, and unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen. Let's see here. There was also some discussion about updating web soil survey, which I'll talk about, and also soil data development toolbox, which I'll also talk about with. So we had some updates provided by Drew Kinney, who is with the Soil Survey Center in Lincoln. And here are some of the things that are on the horizon. So they're now or here soon, there's a new Surgo template. It will include the spatial data, and it will be an open source database, an SQLite. So you won't need to use an Esri, for example, or MS Access, I guess is actually more accurate to use this database. And Soil Data Viewer similarly will be using this in the background and will now be platform independent. You won't need to have ArcMap to use the new version of Soil Data Viewer when it is released. One thing that was expressed, there was a lot of interest in our May 4th meeting on having the Soil Data Development Toolbox updated. And as it turns out, for use in ArcGIS Pro, as the current version is only workable in ArcMap. And as it turns out, that is actually being worked on. Perhaps by the end of this fiscal year or early next fiscal year, that will be up to date. So perhaps, maybe, I'm not sure if that'll align with the refresh of Surgo, but thereabouts transparency And they're also near that time that they're exploring having been able to deliver Surgo as a web feature class that if it works out, it could be available by the end of the fiscal year. If not, they'll pass it on up the chain to see if they can get some more resources to make that happen. And further down, or down the line, or up the beyond, Lab Data Mart actually here soon. They updated the website, so sometime this month that's said to go forward. And then a web soil survey is undergoing a redesign, and the hopes are that by mid fiscal year next year, so perhaps maybe about the time we meet for the national conference, that will be available. It remains to be seen. It's a very there's a lot of functionality in the current web page, and so we'll see if that timeline is your tentative timeline. So we'll see if that happens by then. And in fact, that was one of the things we talked about. We didn't have as many in our meeting this week who were major users of web soil survey. So we had a segment where we asked for suggestions, perhaps, or things you would want to see in web soil survey. And we had a few what I might call aesthetic suggestions that I'll pass on to Drew Kinney. And some of those I imagine were already likely to be incorporated. But if you do have things that you think that would be useful for web soil survey, you can send that to me and I can include that in in our report, and perhaps they will be incorporated. Now, let's see, Soil Data Mart is, its update will correspond with Web Soil Survey as well as the Soil Data Access. So as you can see, that's going to be a major update, having those 3 systems being updated at the same time. So you can see that that's going to be it'll be very exciting and very interesting to see when those come out together. And so again, mid next fiscal year. And then further down the line, interpretation generators, which those both might come out by the end of the next fiscal year or the following fiscal year in 2024. So perhaps at the next regional conference, we'll be able to talk more about those. And chair nominations, as I'm beginning to understand, perhaps the first nomination might be other bylaws that may dictate who might be there, but Aaron Friends was willing to represent the NRCS. So I guess that's tentative. And then Matt Levi also agreed to be the cooperator, to be the co-chair for that. And both of which I'm excited that I think they'll be great co-chairs for that. And unless there's questions, that is all I have to present from our technology meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Seems like you and I were on the same page at the PXRF. So
I was pretty excited to see that in action. I'll have other opportunities, I'm sure.
oh yeah, hopefully we'll be able to be in person next year and the year after that. Okay. So thank you for that report. And next up, we have the Coastal Zone Soil Survey and the Subaqueous Soils Committee to present their reports.
All right, thanks, Christine. All right. Start going. All right, so I'm Matt Ricker at NC State University. I'm a co-chair of the Coastal Zone Subaqueous Soils Committee for 2022 with Stacy Quissel from NRCS in Texas. So I'm just pretty brief here. We're going to go over what we discussed in our committee meeting a couple days ago. I would like to point out that there still in the past, this was an ad hoc committee because of sort of lack of issues going on in the coastal zone and the region. And coastal zone subaqueous really started in the Northeast. And as of last regional meeting 2020, the vote came in to make this a standing committee like the others. So no longer an ad hoc committee, and point out that the coastal zone is a big part of this. It's not just subaqueous soils. And so there's still this misconception that all we do is subaqueous work. Like here, we do a lot of subaerial work as well, laboratory and field. So as far as the meeting, we had 25 participants total. Recapped 2020 regional South meeting. And the big thing there was that we voted 39 out of 39 unanimous to make the committee standing in the South region. And so this is the first meeting as a standing committee. We held one pre-meeting in Teams on April 11th. There were 7 participants, and all of the issues that came up in that pre-meeting were added to the discussions for the meeting this week. We had an overview of our South region coastal zone subaqueous projects, both field and laboratory projects, and those were highlighted in the states of North Carolina, Texas, Florida, and in Puerto Rico. So a lot of research going on relative to the coastal zone with all kinds of issues that are occurring with sea level rise and ongoing need for interpretation updates in this sort of realm. Some issues needing attention that came up during the meeting for discussion. And these kind of go along with taxonomy and classification, discussions of salinity, which is basically ocean-derived salts, and how to deal with salinity for classification and mapping of coastal soils. And then also discussions of the new proposed aquasol classification for wet soils and what that would do for coastal zone and subaqueous soils. And we decided that we need further data and testing specifically in the coastal zone soils. And so I was tasked with rounding up data for testing salinity classes, and as well as how well the aquasol classification will work for the soils of interest for this committee. Second issue that came up was essentially a lack of appropriate choices for the South region and NRCS for subaqueous landforms. This was brought up by Ruben Wilson, who's an NRCS employee in North Carolina. And the issue there is that a lot of the landforms that are currently recognized within the NRCS systems were developed in the Northeast, where a lot more time has gone by in studying subaqueous environments. And a lot of those environments are glacial, which we don't deal with. And they also lack large river systems that are connected intimately with the ocean. And so we end up having to use these catch-all landforms when making maps of subaqueous environments in the region. So we're looking at developing a proposal for updated landforms based on current projects that are ongoing in the region. That probably will come up in 2024 at the regional meeting. Rob Tunstead brought up some issues in Florida with subaqueous soil coring and cemented biological layers, essentially worm casts that are cemented. Difficult to describe right now with our morphology, how to get that into NRCS. And so Rob is working on a draft proposal to capture these cemented biological layers that are causing problems in Florida. And he's presenting that to the Coastal Zone Soil Survey Focus Team for further discussion. And then while we're at the meeting, an additional issue was brought forward about sulfide distribution in Texas, and that the distribution of sulfides within soil, which causes environmental problems, is not necessarily predictable. And where you would think there would be sulfides, that you don't find them, and where you think they shouldn't be, you're finding them. And really, we need additional research data and discussions on this, specifically in our region. It's a known issue in other states as well. We're seeing it in North Carolina. And this is likely a function of lack of iron to form pyrite, which when exposed to oxygen water will really cause your low pHs below 4, which is the definition of sulfitic materials right now in soil taxonomy. So this is a known issue. Currently, we have a number of projects going on, and so we can maybe bring forward a proposal in 2024 to better understand spatial distribution of sulfides. So some fairly major discussions, no real things to move forward at this time, sort of circling back to getting more data on these. Action items. So for the 2024 standalone meetings, so traditionally ad hoc committees in this region, which was subaqueous soils and hydric soils, were combined for meeting since coastal zone and subaqueous has so much to get through. The suggestion was that we have a standalone meeting for coastal zone and get the full 2-hour block, because there are a lot of things to discuss every 2 years in this region moving forward. And then the other action item was figuring out the co-chairs. And so I graciously nominated myself, and there was no opposition to that, to act as co-chair for 2024. And Ruben Wilson put his name in the hat from NRCS from Raleigh, North Carolina. There was no opposition to this as well. And then here's some nice photos of some of the sites that we're working on. So again, just to recognize that we're not just subaqueous soils, and we're working in all kinds of different coastal environments, working on those interpretations. So that's all I have to share for the Coastal Zone Subaqueous Committee.
Thank you. Matthew. So was it, just to be clear was Reuben Wilson nominated for the chair or the co-chair? Or you guys?
I believe co-chair.
Okay.
There's just, we treat them as co-chairs, so yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And that's in the report, so.
Okay, and I like your pictures. Pictures. Okay, so next, let's hear from the Hydric Soils Committee.
Okay, can I share my screen? Screen one. Can you see this?
Yes.
You can. Okay, not like yesterday. All right. I'm Mike Papraskis, chair of the Hydric Soils Committee, and my co-chair for this session was Casey Sowell. We developed a committee with 15 members from across the region. 9 were present at our meeting this week. Over the course of 2 major email discussions over the past year, we identified 3 areas or issues that needed to be addressed. And I'll go over those as proposals. Number 1, it was suggested that we rephrase the definition of hydric soil field indicators A11, which is also called the depleted below dark surface, and indicator A12, which is the thick dark surface. The problem here is that both use the term depleted matrix in their definition. Normally, a depleted matrix is used for textures of loams and clays, but for these 2 indicators, it can also be used in sand. So if the sand has the colors required for a depleted or gleyed matrix, it fits within these definitions and within these field indicators. The use of sands is not real clear with a depleted matrix, and so it was suggested that we have a small change in the definition. The proposed change is actually just modifying the first sentence to a layer of any texture with colors of a depleted or gleyed matrix that has 60% or more chroma 2 or less, and leave the rest of the definitions the same. The committee recommended we voted, the committee moved to accept this with no changes. In other words, no changes in the proposal, and it was unanimously approved. The path forward is for me to take it now to the National Technical Committee for Hydric Soils. I'm a member of that committee, and we meet in the fall. I will make this proposal, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think it's a good idea, and I think it will clarify things for a lot of people. Any questions or comments? No? Good. Number 2, our proposal was to develop guidance for interpreting high chroma layers in hydric soils that have been burned. This is an issue raised by some North Carolinians, Mike Jones and Marie Ross. Apparently you can have, or it appeared to them, you can have hydric soils in areas, but if that area is then burned, you might get high chroma layers that then obliterate the 2 chroma colors. This is suspected. We don't have enough data yet to know if it is a factor or not, but it's something that the committee felt we needed to continue to look at. And so the proposal is that Mike Jones and Marie Ross will continue to collect data on such layers. We'll welcome data from others as well if this is an issue in other areas. None were raised, though, or identified. And I will, they'll send the data to me, I'll compile it and then share it with the rest of the committee over the course of the next 2 years. Again, that proposal was accepted, and we will continue to study the issue further. Number 3, we still have a problem with problematic hydric soils. These are soils that appear to be hydric, appear to be in a wetland, but don't meet current hydric soil field indicators. Yet the site may have signs of wetland hydrology. In fact, well data may show it meets wetland hydrology. You may also have hydrophytic plants in the area, but for some reason, the soils have not developed a recognized field indicator. There's not much we can do on this, but we want, as a committee, want to identify problematic hydric soils across our region. And if they become widespread, or if we identify widespread areas or problem soils in particular for a given type of landscape, we may seek funding for monitoring. At this point, we're not in a position to really do any more monitoring, And so the committee will, the proposed action was just to continue to identify soils that potentially meet the definition of a hydric soil, which do not meet a current field indicator. And the committee's recommendation is to try to do, we will continue to compile a list of these problematic soils in our region. And again, if widespread, we'll also provide guidance where monitoring is warranted and try to get some funding as well. Those are the three proposals. Those are the actions that have been recommended, and really some active. I will have to get active for proposal number 1 and continue to monitor numbers 2 and 3. Are there any questions on our proposals? Okay. Then we were told we had to elect chairs and co-chairs. I've had the same problem as others on this in this meeting, in that the cooperator, me in this case, we received no nominations for a new cooperator, and so I will continue as chair. Then for NRCS co-chair, we happily had 2 nominations, Mike Jones and Gabriela Fajardo. We had a election in the last 24 hours. Mike Jones won, and he will be our new co-chair, probably starting immediately. That is all we have to report.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Does anybody have so far any comments or questions about anything? We're moving along pretty good, but I want to give people a chance to ask a question if they have it, or if they have a burning comment. Okay, well, then I will move on to Edgar, the Bylaws Committee.
Okay. You're probably seeing the screen in the edit mode, right?
Yes, that's what we see now.
I'll try this again. We'll just go with that. And I'll make it big. How's that?
We can't see anything.
How's that?
Great.
Okay, so this is a report from the Bylaws Committee. Dr. Chris Bry and myself are co-chairs for that committee. We had one prior meeting before the conference, or before this week, and then we had an additional meeting this week. We had a couple of attendees there. So catching up on the bylaws, during the 2020 Southern Regional Conference, updates were made in format, changes in NRCS organizational structure in alignment with the national bylaws. Amendments were approved. This was probably the biggest push on bylaws we've had in a while. And so those were done with this, and those were done. With these changes and recent changes since the last conference with the Soil and Plant Science Division regional office boundaries, we looked at Table 1, which reflects the rotation of hosts and such, and looked at that and see if the responsibilities needed to be changed or updated there. This is Table 1, and it gives the rotation of years for hosts for the conference and such. The responsibilities here are all of NRCS responsibility as co-chair. So there doesn't have just the conference cooperator host. Other than that, so the steering committee chair comes from the National Technical Centers, and those are rotated between the two centers. The steering committee co-chairs come from a SBSD liaison. That used to be people from either the headquarters or the National Soil Survey Center or such. But now Dave Limbo is appointing them from the regional directors. We have a place for regional directors as a place on the steering committee. And that is rotational. So we're rotating between, these are soil survey regions, the Southeast region, the South Central region, and the Northeast region. There was some question whether we should include the Northeast region in this rotation. And the Northeast region of soil survey still has some responsibility in southern states for the National Cooperative Soil Survey. And think of Kentucky and Tennessee as part of that, and they have responsibilities there. So we, the committee decided to keep the Northeast Soil Survey region in rotation. As far as the taxonomy committee and the standards committee, which was split from last year's the 2020 conference, the rotation there is for the regional director as part of that committee or their designee. So say for instance, in the taxonomy committee, this time, the South Central region was the co-chair, which would have been Joe, but it designated Wayne Gabriel as his designee. So that's how that would work. So that is the rotation of those two committees. Other committees, such as the New Technology Committee, would just need to have a NRCS person and a cooperator as co-chair. So it doesn't have a designation for any other committee except for those two in our bylaws. Any questions?
Yeah, when is this has been accepted, right?
Yes.
So in who's going to update the when is the bylaws going to be updated? When is that going to happen? Like when is that table going to get swapped out for the new one?
Okay, so after this conference is over, what I'll go ahead and do is just go down to 2046, add that line, and then we resubmit it, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so we're adding a new line. For years, it hadn't been updated, and so this last time we updated for the full rotation so that it would be known how the rotation would be as far as the states. One of the issues we've had was some here recently in the last, I guess, 4 years, there's been some reorganization on the NRCS side to especially Soil and Plant Science Division, and that's taken care of now. Okay. So we decided to leave the Soil and Plant Science Division responsibilities as is with the 3 regions, soil survey regions, South Central, Southeastern, and the Northeast regions, and their responsibilities to our conference. We also discussed the need for guidance for conferences during pandemic or other situations which cause a cancellation of a conference. There is reference to the National Soil Handbook, National Soil Survey Handbook, Part 602, conducting National Cooperative Soil Survey Conferences. In it, it lists the timeline for conferences, say a 2-year time frame. It basically is going through, you know, do this, do this, do this, as far as committees meet and have things ready. It doesn't, we might want to put or at least lift this up to see if there is guidance that can be put in to determine when a conference needs to go to a virtual mode or not, or that type of thing. And that might be something we might want to discuss here and see if that is something we want to elevate to up to a national level.
Yes. I would say yes.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
can't,
I mean,
can't cancel,
sorry.
you can't switch when there's less than 2 weeks. You can't do it. There's no way to switch. There's no way to pivot. And canceling was not our very last choice, but we didn't, I mean, there was no time to pivot.
Oh, we would have pivoted.
We
if
would
had
have.
gotten- Yeah, I had already gotten GoPros and everything. We would have pivoted.
Yep.
We just couldn't get any response back with if that would be okay or not.
I mean, we submitted
You know,
that
all
budget
the
hybrid option.
yeah. Well, yeah. So the thing is that now all other ones, future meetings, are going to have a virtual option. So the question is now, okay, you have to have some type of virtual option. When do you decide to cut off the in-person, and how do you make that decision? So to me, that's the question to get
But
some
even
guidance
that
on.
that requiring a virtual option hasn't been put in any as far as a bulletin or anything. So, I mean, they would have to do that if that was something that needed to get done, you know, when those bulletins come out.
Okay, so we could write up a proposal to the National Bylaws Committee, asking for clarification or asking for guidance added to the planning, organization, and managing of the conferences for in that part of that's not part of the bylaws, it's part of the National Soil Survey Handbook. So maybe we can get that elevated to the standards committee, or standards for to consider adding.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And seeking clarification on if, you know, if that will be required, or if it's, you know, do we just need guidance on when you're switching to a virtual option, knowing if they want a virtual option for all conferences, that needs to get decided too.
Okay. I'll add that information in there, and then we'll have that with our report.
The other benefit to having a virtual option, just automatic for every conference. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Is that is that you also get a lot more participation than you would ordinarily get at these conferences. I mean, last year, Edgar, was it last year or the year before that you guys did the conference in Arkansas?
Right, it's 2020.
So 2020, gosh, time is flying by. When you guys did the conference there, I noticed like on the Interps committee, there were a lot of attendees. And traditionally at these regional conferences, you know, you may or may not get all that many people that get approval to travel or able to travel or whatever. So, I mean, the virtual options do give, do add some participation that would not ordinarily be present there.
Right. Okay. As far as the bylaws go, there's no amendments that we saw. That it was just a little bit of cleanup on what we had done the previous time. And that's my report.
Okay,
Thanks.
can I ask a question? This
Yes.
is Mike Papraskis. Edgar, so where do we stand on this this option for, you know, online or the course? I don't quite understand. And I'm concerned about this business of NRCS canceling these conferences 1 to 2 weeks before they're held. So will your bylaws build in something to say there has to be an online option for sure, and that cancellation cannot be done within 2 weeks of the meeting? Or is there a final, what's the recommendation on this?
I don't know if we have a recommendation on when to. We didn't have a recommendation on when we, you know, if you know, obviously 2 weeks is not enough time. Really, we should, that should, but there does need to be a time frame. Let me see if I can find that time frame built into how to run a conference, saying that you know, at you know, 6 months ahead or 3 months ahead, whatever it may be, that mode of the conference needs to be set. Whether, you know, if it's going to be virtual, if it's going to be blended or what. I think that needs to happen.
Okay, I do too. Now, I don't know if 6 months is too far out or not, but I'm wondering if, I don't know if your committee needs to address this specifically and make a recommendation, a formal recommendation to NRCS, because again, it hit this group pretty hard this time. I don't know, Dara, when you had to cancel or when you got the word, but I was planning a Soil Survey Institute, and we had people from around the country coming in, and they were telling me they reserved the right to cancel 1 week ahead of time because of the pandemic. And I said, forget this. I don't want to be biting my nails for up to the last week before I and not know whether it's going forward or not. And it's not fair to these other people that are, you know, putting off vacation plans. So I think this needs to be done formally, or at least come up with a formal recommendation if you weren't planning it otherwise.
My thoughts are, we could treat it as like, you know, at some point you're on the hook for costs. There are things that you don't get back, and it's kind of like big formal events like weddings. If you're going to force people to change, you have to do it within the window that you're not dinged with fees and cancellation fees from hotels and venues. There are things that we have to plan for. There's food that's bought. I mean, we had, how much swag that was paid for already? I mean, we had swag for everybody.
$1,300 worth of
Dollars worth of swag.
bags and Nalgene bottles sitting in my office, guys. So if you're going to be close by, please let me know.
You can send all the swag to Richard Reed in Texas.
Up there. We're going to formally close out this conference. We're going to have dinner, we're going to have a drink, and I'll take a swag bag back with me.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get like to some of you like a whole bunch, so when you see each other you can get it out. We'll get it out there, and yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I would say, you know, the hotels for the meeting space, the food, and the other meeting space at Greenbrier all wanted numbers really 3 weeks out, hard numbers 3 weeks out. And then I was able to keep pushing it back. Um, and, we did not want to cancel. And Christine and I discussed it, and we thought we had no choice. And, we never really got approval to pivot to virtual, to pivot to hybrid, or to cancel. So that's the problem is just, if we get to make those decisions and that's great, but we still need to make sure that y'all are going to be able to be approved to still attend or present, even if we are just virtual and not. I mean, I think from now on, everything's going to have a virtual component, right? So it's just, but Mike, I can totally empathize with what you're saying is like, you can't make everything virtual in an institute like that that's really field based. You're not going to want to do that. So we just need some type of timeline. So something to follow to make these decisions. Yeah, maybe a month out, COVID is terrible and we cancel the in person, and then a week before it gets better again. I mean, that's okay. At least we have planned then, and we're not
Yeah,
out
but
money.
I understand your point, but again, it's going to be, if you cancel 3 weeks out and then all of a sudden COVID disappears, I'm not sure how many people are going to change their plans back to what they had originally. Now, getting back to your other comment, with the Soil Science Institute, my impression was that the budget people were the ones who were going to tell me that I would have to cancel. And I think, if we can come up with something we all agree on and that your administration agrees on, that you don't cancel within 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that, would sure be a help. It would clarify things for me and for our speakers. I think we need something firm and not just leave this in the hands of the budget people who don't understand what, some of the problems that Dara just went over.
I mean,
And
trust
so,
me.
Edgar, I think this is an important issue that needs to be at least made into a proposal. Well, defined first and then made it into a proposal and sent up the line.
Okay.
That I talked to Marty Rosak, and he was getting the same, like, no answers. And I guess the hotels, I mean, they were really mad at him. I mean, they were on the hook above the 15,000. So I mean, they were very, very concerned. It just caused a lot of anxiety, and we put almost a year into this.
Okay, but the question now is, what do we do to make the change? Is what Edgar just typed in enough, and his group will take care of it, or do you need another committee?
I almost think that there has to be a timeline where it's like, this was the decision, this is how we're moving forward, and you can't really change it. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I hate to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to, chair like a sub or ad hoc committee that puts together a recommendation on this?
Me?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys went through it.
To be perfectly honest, I was really mad. I had to take off time from work and spend time in my garden transplanting watermelons because I was really upset.
Okay, I mean, and absolutely, I would be buying a couple of cases of beer instead of gardening.
Yeah.
If this happened to me, but
well,
again,
I like my garden. It helps me out, and I stare at my butterflies, and I watch
but
my.
Christine and Dara, I think we have to start making something. I don't know if give Edgar some help, or if maybe you two. I'd be willing to work on this, but
Yeah, I think
do
we
something
don't
more
need a
formal.
I don't think we need a subcommittee. I think Edgar, you can just put myself, and if Christine and Mike want to work on it, on the proposal, we'll come up with, I don't know if we need a formal proposal with a timeline, but a proposal stating that the administration needs to come up with a timeline, because it's
Yeah,
not just just for our region.
Right, and then Marty Rosak was another one affected. He probably has some ideas. He's up in Michigan, and Philip King in Delaware. And they had to cancel too, just because they were all in June. one of them was next week. I think Michigan was next week, or maybe it was Delaware, but you know.
Okay, but I go back to your timeline. I mean, if you guys have a specific recommendation, then I think that could also be made with the understanding that guys up the line could change it. Okay, we don't want to, you know, chisel it in stone, be a little bit flexible, but I think we got to give them something to shoot at. But anyway, I think having a, you know, 4 members like this or something with maybe somebody as chair to get things rolling, it should not be me, by the way. I'd be happy to work with it. And let this anger come out there, Dara, you know.
Hey,
Oh, I
I
think
have
it.
I have a question, probably for Edgar.
Yep.
I agree with Mike, and Dara and Christine and everybody on the call about some certainty on this. It makes us look bad. There's a lot of wasted time here. The cooperators have time and money invested. I mean, this needs to be addressed. However, I'm a little concerned about these drafting something in the bylaws. Who reads these? Does NRCS administration and leadership have anything to do with these bylaws at all? I mean, I know Soil Plant Sciences Division is on the hook for this stuff, but the people that perhaps might be making the decisions on related to pandemic, COVID type stuff, may be well past, you know, SPSD, right? So
Yeah, I feel like they had
this,
a talk with the pandemic. They had to talk to Scott Linsky.
yeah, I mean, this has to be escalated way beyond the audience for these bylaws, right? Or not?
That is correct.
It
Yeah,
may, but we have to start somewhere.
Sure,
Okay, we've
sure.
got to
Yeah,
get
I agree.
something on in writing, and
In
then we
writing,
can
yeah.
just take it one step at a time to see where it goes. For one thing, I'd send this to Limbo and say, listen, Dave, you know, you can't have your people be canceling major conferences 1 week ahead of time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this would have to be brought up at like a agency leadership meeting. You know, again, I'll go back to the same thing. Yeah, that's what I figured, Roy. You know, you don't see them canceling SWCS at the last minute. I mean, I'm not saying that may not happen, but I mean, you don't see them canceling certain conferences at the last minute like this. This is just again, I probably should not say a whole lot more, but it's unprofessional. So
we can leave it. It was definitely.
I'll jump in a little bit there, Richard. This is Joe. Kind of careful with how I'm going to frame everything too. I think if you start out, you know, kind of along the lines where everyone's saying you need to go, and you craft something, perhaps you send that on to the director, and what that will do is, while this decision to cancel, pivot, change to hybrid, et cetera, you know, the meeting cancel itself, while that's not a PSD decision, it's related to the pandemic, and it's quite far elevated above Soil and Plant Science Division. It will give him talking points needed, and it will give all of the details that are required for those conversations at that higher level. And I think that would probably be the best thing to do, is provide as much of that ammunition, as much of that very well-reasoned description to Dr. Limbo to utilize.
Yes, and there's a way to do these things that don't leave people in the lurch. And I think that's the biggest thing, where we have to, the worst thing is not making a decision. And then that just kind of leaves people twisting in the wind. So having some kind of, you know, timeline or deadline or whatever you want to call it, guidance on how to proceed, would definitely be needed. And if we can craft it in a way where they read it and say like, oh man, yeah, I guess that probably wasn't the best way to go about it. Like that's what we need.
I just want to make sure this crafted, this wordsmith process gets escalated to the correct people. That's my.
And I'm really good at writing. I think I'm pretty good at it. So I can always like proofread and, make sure it's tactful, respectful, but firm.
Blunt.
You know,
Okay, so well, I think you need a chair here, somebody to agree to start this off.
I'll be chair. And then we'll get this through, get all the information. If it's at first a proposed letter or whatever it may be, and we'll circulate it amongst our committee and then amongst more if we need to. In fact, the whole steering committee that was with this conference, just to get all input that we need, and then elevate it up to Limbo.
Okay.
does it get, are we starting with him, or does this get elevated to the national conference next year too? Or do we?
I think we elevate it here quickly to Limbo before it loses any steam.
Right, and then we also don't want the situation again next year.
I don't know if this is a bylaws thing or not. I think we need to voice some concerns about this to Limbo.
Right,
And
yeah.
that way he's got the information he needs to go, like Joe says, for other meetings or other conferences. So
I think this is more of a steering committee issue than a bylaws committee, really.
yeah.
I really.
I agree.
Yeah, we can work on it. And I would just say that, if we could get on it pretty quickly, it may help those that are supposed to have their meetings in July. Because I have a feeling they probably haven't heard anything either. I haven't talked to any of them, but.
All it says is tentative on the website, so who knows?
Regional, the Western Regional Conference that's to be held in July.
Yeah, I think it says tentative on the actual.
As of the newsletter this morning, I believe it said it was canceled.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Need double check.
Good thing we didn't push it back, Dara. There was no guarantee.
Yeah.
May not have hit the. Let's see.
All of them said canceled in the newsletter. Yes, I noticed that too, Joe.
Okay. Big old bummer. I'll quote my kids. I hate this virus.
Well, with that, we'll meet and convene and provide information to send up to Limbo on this. So,
Sure.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
All right, so these are all the committee reports, and I think I got all of them from everyone. If anybody needs to update anything, just do that and send it to me. I'm going to organize everything in different folders. And then Mitch, since you're hosting, hopefully in 2024 in person, I can send you a link. I could just organize everything and you can have access to all like the committee reports if you want to take them and just file them away so you have them for your planning.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
And then you'll just have a
Appreciate it.
big forum. I can just send them to you. And Charles seems to be in the emails. Do you want me to include him or just send him to you? You and Charles?
Feel free to include Charles. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was helping you out. He seems very excited. At least he told me he was looking forward to coming because you guys were planning in 2024 and want to take some ideas. So I wasn't sure if you were, kind of collaborating on some stuff.
Yeah, well, there's not too many soil survey folks in Louisiana. Charles is one of the only ones, and we work in the same office, so it's always good to shoot ideas off at him. And he has I trust him with his thoughts and stuff. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, excellent. Yeah, I'll get him organized and get him sent to you. So then the next thing on the agenda is our business meeting, which we're kind of been doing already, I suppose. Get this. And Edgar, is this where do we finalize? Do we vote on who the chairs and co-chairs are?
If we have them.
Okay. Let me see. Let me go through the list. I could just. So, Richard, did we have a chair and co-chair for interps?
Hey, sorry. You there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Let me see what I've got. I believe you were the only person that volunteered to be. There seems to be some confusion on whether these are called chairs and co-chairs or two co-chairs. Anyway, whatever you want to call them, you volunteered to be the NRCS representative, and I have a couple cooperators that were suggested or nominated, but I haven't touched base with them yet because that was yesterday. So Rachel Cook from North Carolina State, Wallace Dillon, U.S. Forest Service from Georgia, and Matt Levi from the University of Georgia. And I noticed, I think Matt was on one of the other committees, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
So nobody else volunteered for chair, so it's me, huh?
Yeah, it's all you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. That's okay. Okay. And then I'm just writing all this down.
Christina, don't worry about writing it down because I'm doing it. You just go ahead and facilitate.
All right. So then do we vote on that or should we vote until we have a cooperator? Edgar, what are we?
Go ahead and vote, and then with the cooperator to be determined.
Okay. I guess since I was the only one on chair, we can take a vote on me. I'll still keep my hat in the ring.
Did we vote on all of them at the end?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Do that by acclamation.
All right. So research needs. Kamara, do we have a chair for that?
No, we do not. We don't have any nominations or volunteers for either co-chair.
All right, so we'll have to look into that. Okay, soil and ecosystem dynamics. That was Charles, right? Because we'll need to have a chair and a co-chair nomination for that one.
The NRCS rep co-chair, NRCS co-chair was Jack Farrar.
Oh, that's right. And so we need one more, right?
I'm trying to remember. I thought it was going to be Patrick again.
No.
No. Okay.
No, he said he was going to try to get some names out for potentials.
So it was.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so we've got Jeff Ferrara for at least one. All right, soil standards. Joe?
All
Yeah,
right, so
we had
the,
three names we were looking at for ecosystems for
Oh,
the
okay.
cooperator chair. It's
And-
in our report.
Okay, excellent. Let me pull that up real quick. Once I turn off my video, my computer is running a lot better, so this should hopefully is a little faster. Oh, let me hang on. Give me 1 minute, Dara, and then I'll give you those names.
Are you looking for the ecosystem chair names?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up and.
I have it open right here. I'll drop them in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I think Estella Smith was involved in the 2021, the national one, right? I feel like I've seen her name, or she was in the videos.
She presented on TEUI, I think.
Okay. Okay. Soil standards.
All right, so for chair, we have our co-chair, we have the Northeast Soil Survey Regional Director.
Okay, so that's Luis Hernandez.
Yes, yeah. And then we have for the co-chair, Dr. Engel Perea.
Oh, that's right. I'm so glad that she's staying on. That's excellent. Okay, taxonomy committee.
Had to unmute myself. I've contacted both the southeast and northeast regions, but haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay, is that dictated by the bylaws?
I believe so.
Yeah, so the NRCS co-chair will be from the southeast region,
Okay,
and then a cooperator.
all right, so we'll need a cooperator on that, Wayne. All right, okay. All right, so we'll move on to Alex, so the technology committee.
Yeah, we had Aaron Friend and Matt Levi.
Okay, that's where Matt Levi went. Okay.
Right.
All right, in the coastal zone, it was Matthew Ricker and Ruben Wilson.
that's correct.
Okay. Hydric soils, we had Dr. Rapraskas says graciously voluntolding himself. And then we still need, do we need a co-chair? Who was-
Co-chair is Mike Jones.
That's right. And then the bylaws is dictated by the committee is dictated by the actual bylaws, I think, right?
Well, it has traditionally been the host for the next conference. We kind of took it on this time because there was a lot of changes. But it will be Mitchell Mouton as the NRCS, and then when they name a cooperator for Louisiana, it will be that person.
Okay. So then the cooperator of the next one will be on the bylaws and the steering?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, well, let's take a vote on interpretations. No, we're missing one.
well, Christine, why don't we do this?
Mhm.
Why don't we do, I move by acclamation that we accept all committee co-chairs as presented.
Okay, that's better.
I'll second it.
I third it.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
No. Robert's Rules of Order. Motion
Oh.
has been made, seconded. Someone calls for question, which means it goes to a vote.
So I say we vote on it?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So we'll just, we'll work on, I guess we'll work on research needs and I'll look for, I'll make contact with a couple people for the inserts, so. All right, Dara, do you have any closing remarks?
Yes, let me finish typing real quickly. Obviously approved. Okay, I'm going to share my screen just to show you. And we don't really need to talk about this right now. I'm just going to send this out to you all so you can start looking at it. PowerPoint, there we go. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so these were the top priorities from each committee, except really the bylaws and standards don't have top priorities. And it says 1, 2, and 3, but that does not mean that was like the first one was necessarily the primary priority for them. Some of them gave it to me that way, some of them did not. So, but I tried to look because when I was on these calls, I could tell that there were some things that were reoccurring, some different themes. So the urban theme is still important, seems to be fairly important, and that's that tan color. Interpretations, soil and ecosystem dynamics. You can see there's two colors here. So this was land use guidelines in the ecological site handbook. Wanted to have some urban themes in there. Research priorities, still saw the importance of urban soils. So that seems to be the overarching one. And then the carbon and actually with coastal zone soils surveying was another one that had a lot of overlap between the different committees. And so that's more of this darker tan color or yellowish tan color. And also, so the coastal zones, obviously, and subaqueous soils committee, soil and ecosystem dynamics, hydric soils, and then the research priorities also had quite a bit of carbon, and specifically looking at carbon in the coastal zones was of importance. So that was another kind of overarching theme. And then the importance of trying to figure out which DSPs to use and how to interpret them was another one. That hydric soils, and I think actually I probably didn't capture everything in all of these different committees, so I apologize ahead of time if I didn't. But just by reading them, some of them seemed like they were DSP oriented. definitely in research priorities, there's a lot of talk about the DSPs still, especially with soil health. And then there's this, I just put water in there, which is kind of like an overarching, of course, a lot of it has to do with the coastal zone too. But also, of course, hydric soils, and then research priorities, although the water was an emphasis for them too. And then, of course, in taxonomy, we have this overarching aquasols order. So I'll go ahead and send this to Christine, and you guys might want to consider further populating this out, so you can see where you do have overlap or suggestions for a different committee to pick up a topic. And thank you. I can't tell you how great you all are. I mean, this has been such a great experience. For the most part, a really great experience. Love being able to get out in the field with some of you and getting to work with you. And I'm so happy Christine asked me to do this, because just being able to network and find out what y'all are working on and potential collaborations has been so worth it. And just appreciate really the steering committee, all the steering committee's help.
Well, I've had a lot of fun working with you. The soil pit was a really great day. We worked really hard that day for nothing.
Agreed. No, we have some good data, and we helped a farm, right? So
We did.
yes.
Did we end up meeting with them about the heavy metals or no?
I did. Yes. Yes. And we actually got their kale tested, and it came back fine. And they're getting their carrots tested now, because they have 600 pounds of kale that's being harvested right now to be distributed to socioeconomically challenged people in the community.
Oh, Anna was a big help. She's still on the call. Thank you for that too.
Yes, absolutely. Very big help.
My pleasure.
Interpreting the data. So would all the chairs, all the co-chairs be interested in getting what Dara has put together? Because I can send that out to everyone.
Yeah, I think that'd be useful. And Christine and Dara, thanks so much for pivoting and making the meeting a success.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you think so. Well, at least we got everybody together still and proposals move forward. So that was I'm glad we were able to get that done.
I think I want to reiterate what Matt Ricker just said. I think you guys did a great job pulling it together under very difficult circumstances, throwing a ringer at you at the last minute. So congratulations. I think this is very beneficial.
Well, thank you. And hopefully we'll be there in 2024. And Mitch, like I said, anything you need help with, I mean, I'm on the steering committee, I'll help you.
Me too.
We'll give it to you. If you want to take what we've been working on, run with it. We had a really, really fun topics. And it's just sad. We're super bummed that we couldn't, show a soil pit in person and show the demonstration of the new tools, which apparently Alex was excited about. He didn't even know. So, but yeah, we'll take whatever you want and run with it.
I will take anything that'll help us out. I really appreciate that. I guess, again, it's already been stated, y'all did a fantastic job. I guess this is a good segue just to give a quick formal invite to everybody to the state of Louisiana in 2024. Hopefully we're back to normal and y'all are able to make the trip to Louisiana, and we're able to have a good conference in Louisiana and Hopefully it won't be too hot, but y'all can expect that. Look forward to meeting everybody in person. I'm kind of new to this position and also new to attending these conferences. So it'll be the past 2 years, or starting in 2020, I thought would have been a good opportunity to get exposed to this before, having the conference here in Louisiana, but that hadn't happened. I will definitely lean on you guys for support over the next 2 years. So thank you all very much. Look forward to seeing everyone. So hopefully before then. So
yeah, hopefully. When I started too, I mean, the same position. I started, and 2 years later we had a conference. So and Edgar, I want to say thank you to Edgar for all the guidance and support. That was super helpful. So I'm just going to pass it forward, and I'm here to assist in any way that I can.
Thank you.
Hey, I'd like to give a public recognition as well to, besides the people that have been mentioned, which I agree with, to Joe for being a good liaison and giving us the templates to fill out and some information for the chairs and co-chairs to kind of guide our conversations.
Yes.
Hey, thanks. My pleasure.
We had a great steering committee. So I think we all worked well together. I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. So I'm sad, I'm relieved and sad, but
And Mitchell, we will carry that on. I mean, right, Christine? Like just second what Christine said. We will help any way we can. I can't tell you how many, probably too late at night or too early morning emails I sent to her and Joe and Edgar, and they responded. They've been amazing. So I hope we can help you.
all right. So I know everybody's itching. This was supposed to be over yesterday, and it was supposed to be my day off today, but such is life. So I think everybody wants to get on with their weekend. And I guess I'll just make a motion to adjourn the business meeting.
Second.
All right, and we can all vote.
I don't think you vote on that.
Okay, well, you know what? Everybody enjoy your weekend. We did it.
Thanks.